Welcome to 50 Shades of Mom Life podcast, where we talk about the real, raw, and funny sides of motherhood, relationships, and everything in between. From the bright moments to the tough ones, every mom has her shade. So grab your coffee or wine, settle on in, and let's talk about the beautiful, complex, and sometimes unpredictable shades that make up our lives. Get ready to laugh, cry, and feel seen. Let's dive on in. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 50 Shades of Mom Life with Brianna, your host. We are missing Cameron with us today on this episode due to it being the most chaotic week of our life. He has school for the union, he has school for what he's doing on the side, and then he has a side job helping out a friend and work on top of everything. He's exhausted. So I thought it would be the perfect opportunity for me to talk about something that I find is so important in my life and actually why I am where I am today. So we are going to talk about, second, let me grab my breakfast wine. A little ASMR for you. We are going to talk about postpartum. This is going to be a touchy subject, emotional, lots of tears, laughter, and just a lot of forgiveness for myself. So let's get right into it. If you are going through postpartum right now, I feel like this is a good thing for you to listen to. If you have gone through postpartum, it's something that you can relate to. And if you have not experienced postpartum and you want to have children, I feel like it's a great thing to be aware of, because I was not aware of it when I was pregnant or even before kids. So postpartum, my journey, got pregnant when I was 21 and was living the high life. Woo, I'm having a baby. All right, we're doing this. We were not planned. It was not planned. We were not ready for it financially, mentally, emotionally, all of the above. Anyways, we have the baby and we live in an apartment. We were renting at the time. And I've always been very close with my family, thank goodness. And like I said in previous podcasts, I did lose some friends. I didn't have a lot of mom friends. Obviously, I was 21 and I was the first out of the friend group to have a child. You got to think lots of judgment, lots of stares, lots of opinions, lots of she's going to fail at life is what I felt. And you just move on with that. So you're in this little nutshell. You've just had a baby. It's all new to you. I was a pretty chill mom, a pretty chill first mom. They usually say that when you have your first child, you're like a helicopter mom. I wasn't really categorized as that. I was very chill. And I think that came from my mom, who was also a very chill mom. And Cam and I were, he was still discovering his life after his accident. I mean, he was still trying to find a job that fit his physical needs, his emotional needs, and he was also job hopping, and we couldn't afford much. And I've always worked since I could, like literally. I used to babysit these two boys all summer. Then I switched to a pharmacy job, and not working was the number one thing for me that really got to me, that I didn't think it would get to me. So we lived in a basement apartment and we had a bedroom window in our bedroom. And the very first time I remember being like, that's a weird thought, was when Kaden was a newborn and we had a bassinet at the bottom of our bed. And everyone said, like, don't co-sleep, except for my mom. She was like so for co-sleeping because she co-slept, and she was like, like it is the best thing. But it might be trouble, like it might be hard in the long run, because I was stuck sleeping in her bed till I was like, what, mom, 4? No, just kidding, but it might as well have been. And so I co-slept because I remember I was placing Kaden in his bassinet, and I went and laid in my bed, and then I got this intrusive thought, and I was like, and I literally closed my eyes and I was like, and like my gut sunk. I felt my heart in my throat, and I was like, oh my gosh, imagine someone just came through that window and took him while I was sleeping and I didn't hear it. What kind of mom am I? Could you imagine? Oh my God, that's going to happen. Now that you thought that, that's going to happen. So sure enough, I get out of bed, I pick him up, and then I remember Cam being like, what are you doing? He was sleeping. And I was like, oh, no, I heard him whining. And I remember like I lied about it, and I never really opened up because I was like, people are going to think I'm crazy. And then I remember we would be driving down the road and I would be like, oh my gosh, like I need to be back there. Like if a car comes and smashes into us, I need to be there to protect him. If I'm all the way up at the front, obviously I can't pull him out of his car seat quick enough. Like I wouldn't be able to anyways. So it started with intrusive thoughts. I didn't really know there was a label to it, intrusive thoughts. I just thought I was going crazy. Then came along my body image. I didn't even know, but honestly, looking back at pictures, if I can, I will plop a picture in this podcast. I don't even know if you can do that. Um, I it makes me sick to this day, but I didn't realize. So from our apartment, we moved to another apartment in Muskoka because Cam was job hopping. There's always a fly in my podcast, guys. I'm not dirty. We live by a farm, and there's always one damn fly in this house when I podcast. I don't know why. Okay, we're gonna come up with a name for him. Winner of the name in the comments will follow back. We'll give you something. What should we name Freddy the Fly? Oh, I just named him Freddy the Fly. Anyways, um, so we went to Muskoka and I was away from all my family. That was the first time, well, not the first time I was in college, but I didn't do well in college. So I should have known I wouldn't do well being away from my family because they were such a moral support. Let me add in that my sister Trinity, like, literally used to beg me to have children ever since I was like 16 because she wanted a baby so bad. And when I was finally having a baby and I had Kaden, her and Kaden were like this. Trin was 10 years younger than me, so brought her to age 11. And she was like a little mom. Her and Kaden were inseparable. Kaden would wake up being like, tee, 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 tee. And seeing that as a sister, just like, it's melting. But so I moved away from that. And all of a sudden, I wanted to make money. I wanted to make money. I'm at home. I can't drive anywhere. My car won't make it in the snow out in Muskoka. The winters are crazy. And I'm like, I need to make money. Like, I'm useless. What am I doing? I just sit at home and I breastfeed my kid all day and I feed him snacks and I clean and then I make dinner. So I started a few things on the side. I did lashes and then I did Beachbody. And Beachbody was all about taking care of yourself. And I was like, you know what, this is a great way for me to get fit again. And not realizing I was already fit after just having a kid. And looking back, I became obsessive. I was working out 3 times a day. I would work out with Caden in my arms. I work out with him breastfeeding on me. I was obsessed because it was the only thing I could actually fixate on and take my mind off of the fact that I was away from my friends, I was away from my family. And actually, during this time, we ended up moving back home because a job swap again, thank goodness. And I didn't realize until I moved back home, I was like, wow, I'm really unhealthy. I was skin and bones. You couldn't even pull a flab of fat off of me because I was like a stick. And it wasn't the fact that, I was trying to be skinny. I at least I didn't think it was until I got out of that Muskoka deal and I was like, I was depressed. I was anxious and I remember waking up being like, oh my gosh, another day. And that is the worst feeling in the world. Being like, I have to do this all over again. And I feel sad saying that because Kaden was such a blessing of a child. And actually, when I look back, it makes me want to cry because I feel like I forget what it was like having him as a baby. I don't even remember. So we got through that, and yeah, we got back home, and I remember just feeling all the emotions being back home and blah blah blah, and I felt happier, and then it kind of it kind of subsided. I was like, whatever that was, it was just a thing. I don't know what happened to me. I don't know why I was thinking those things. I was definitely depressed. So then we have a second baby. We buy our first home. How exciting! I'm literally weeks away from giving birth. Birth our second baby. I was literally painting our kitchen cupboards at 9 months pregnant. Anyways, that was quacko. And we have our second baby. Let me just add this in. The first, breastfed, latched immediately, not colic, didn't cry, slept through the night. He was so independent. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can do this again. Me and Cam were like, we got this. So we have our baby girl, the cutest little blue-eyed, bald, blonde baby. Didn't look like me, didn't look like Cam. And we were like, okay, where the heck did she come from? The mailman? And now if he said the mailman when I got pregnant with Kaden because we were told we couldn't have kids, but if he said this, if Ev was our first, I'd be like, yeah, damn, did the mailman sneak in at night? Because whose is she? Did they mix up our baby? But she does look like me, obviously, now, but she's actually a lot of my mom. Anyways, that little thing was a firecracker from day one. I remember Caden slept through the night in the hospital and they were like telling me to wake him up. And I was like, oh, I gotta wake him up. And I was like, why did I wake him up? Like, no, don't wake him up. Let him sleep. He'll wake up when he's hungry. And they're like, wake up every 2 hours. And I'm like, no. So come my third, I did that. But Everly, I didn't have to wake her up. She was up every 15 minutes, just scream crying, wouldn't latch on my boob. And it was like you put her down and then she would start screaming. This is when postpartum hit me really, really, really bad. So I'm at home. I have a toddler. And he actually ends up breaking his leg. So not only do I have a newborn, I have a toddler now who can't walk. I'm a mess because I'm going through postpartum, but my kid just went down a slide. I went down the slide with him and I broke his leg. Not me directly, but his leg got lodged in the slide because he was on my lap. So here's a little PSA, parents, don't go down the slide with your children. And I've actually heard, the hospital told me that they've even heard numerous of stories of this happening. So don't go down the slide with your child. So he broke his leg. I was a mess from that, a mess from giving birth, a mess now. I don't have a toddler that can walk. Now I feel like I have twins. I have an upset baby, colic, can't put her down, but I also have a toddler who is relying on me 100% now. I'm by myself. You know, my family works, my siblings are in school. I'm a little, I don't really have any friends. And I'm feeling like, what the fuck? And I remember waking up and Everly, I felt like it was never ending. She would finally latch on and things would be great. And then she would be projectiling puking. And I'm like, what is happening? And the projectile puke would be discolored. Then my milk, I would pump and it would be discolored. And I'm like, what the frig? So I ended up having mastitis. So I go to the doctors, I get fixed, but the antibiotics is counteracting with Everly and making her sick. So now she has the runs, she's shitting all up her back. Then I have Caden who's like crying for me. He needs to go to the bathroom. So I'm like, we already potty trained him. Now we're putting pull-ups back on him because I'm like, if he has an accident, it's in the pull-ups, not on his pants. Disaster. I end up getting my mastitis cleared. Everly latches on and off. I'm topping her up with formula because the breast milk I feel like just wasn't mixing well with her. But now she's like she's like going like this, like she's like, okay, do I want the bottle or the nipple? And it wasn't really nipple confusion because I don't really believe in that because a nipple's a nipple at the end of the day. I mean, my third took to anything and everything. Not every baby's the same. But when they say in the hospital nipple confusion, I don't really agree with that because I did end up doing that with Everly where I breastfed and bottle fed and she was fine. But at first, then I thought she had like a tongue tie because her tongue was like, I don't know. Anyways, flash forward, I'm still trying to breastfeed because I have people in my ear like, breast is best all over social media. Breast is best. You formula feed? No, breast is best. So now I'm like a young mom still. I'm only 23. And I'm like, I have to breastfeed. I breastfed Caden for 15 months, no problems. What am I doing so wrong with her? I'm failing her. I'm not giving her all the vitamins she needs. Not to mention, when Everly was born, she came out covered in yeast on her privates. Her whole bottom of her was a disaster. Like it was just yeast. So that tells me right there, I was on lots of antibiotics when I was pregnant with her because I kept getting bladder infections. So she already started off rough. And I'm like, I think back now and I'm like, imagine what was actually internal if that was external. Imagine what was left internal in her. And so oh gosh, just like reliving this again. So we breastfeed again. And so this will be the second time I get mastitis. Okay. My doctor looks at me, he's like, all right, here we are again. Like, is this what you want to continue doing? Are you cleaning yourself? I'm like, yeah, I'm cleaning my nipples from when I can fricking remember to. I mean, versus the first and the second, the first I'd be like, oh, new pads every 2 hours. This one, I'm like, oh, fuck, this one's full. I got to flop it. Oh, I'll shove a sock down there. Okay, no sock. I don't have a sock now. What am I going to shove next? Like a fucking avocado peel, whatever was going to keep me from leaking. Okay. Not to mention my supply was engorging. Blessed, totally blessed. I know some people don't even have supply, so I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying engorgement is real, okay? I wake up, I've pumped 3 times throughout the night, and now I wake up and my boobs are just leaking all the way down to my knees, and I'm like, this is insane. I have a toddler crying for me because he can't move again. I have a newborn screaming, and I'm like, holy shit. Holy shit. A third time, mastitis happens. I look at Cam and I remember I can like picture it, and I was like, I literally I feel like I'm dying. I was like, I feel feverish. She checks my temperature. I had a high ass fever. I was like, my boob, I can't even touch it. So I went to the doctors and they ended up saying, they actually made me lay down in their office, gave me some Advil and Tylenol, and made me try and sleep. And they were like, I want to see if your fever goes away. And if not, you need to go to the hospital. I had mastitis so bad. And then we had the talk after my fever. I ended up going away. I closed my eyes a little bit, but I was anxious that I wasn't home because Cam texted me and said Ev wouldn't take the bottle and she needed my boob. So she was at home screaming. And I looked at them and I was like, listen, like, thank you. I appreciate like making me try to sleep. I was like, I have to go. And he's like, this might be the time that you switch to formula for good. He's like, 3 times. This is a lot. And I was like crying on the way home. And I was like, oh my God. So I went and picked up more formula and I was like, this is it. I was like, I'm done breastfeeding. Like he told me enough's enough. And so I really was content, but then she started reacting to the formulas. Now that formula is like all the time and not like sometimes, she was colic to it. So she was allergic. So I was like, oh my gosh, now we have to find the lactose free formula. We went through hundreds of dollars trying to find the formula for her. And finally we find the formula and then the formula gets shortaged. I don't know why I'm swearing so much. Postpartum. Excuse my language. So yeah, that um that was just the start of the postpartum. I feel like when it really hit me was, Everly grew up a little bit and I still have my toddler in a cast. I still have my baby who's colic. It was to the point where you literally had to constantly be holding Everly. And the second you put her down, it was a scream cry. It was like so frustrating. And you're like, I remember just sitting there being like, what am I doing so wrong? What am I doing so wrong? Her diapers changed. She's fed. She burped. Like I bathed her. I'd massage her to soothe her. It was like never enough. And I remember just sitting there on the floor the one day and I was like, I think I'd be better off if I left this world. Maybe they would be better off without me. Um, because I was so stuck and I never wanted to confide in my parents or Cam because he didn't really understand and Cam because I took a lot of my anger out on him. I remember when he would walk through the door, like I just hated him. I was like, I hate you. Like you put me in this position, like you did this, you're at work all day and I'm at home suffering. And he didn't really understand, which fine, like men don't understand, but I felt like if I called my mom and said what I was feeling, uh it's really hard to come to terms with how you're actually feeling when you're in the moment of that. um I remember feeling that way during the day, and then nighttime would come and I would hate myself for ever thinking those things. When I'd look at my kids, I was like, oh my God, like the fact that was even a thought. So, I never confided in my sisters because they never understood. They would never understand what I was feeling. If I told them I felt like leaving this world, it's like, oh yeah, people say that all the time, but like, no, I literally wanted to leave this world. Which is so sad because I was so stuck in the thick of it and no one even knew because every time I was around family or friends, it was like, yeah, oh, it's okay. Yeah, I'm good. No, don't worry. Yeah, she's screaming. No, I'm fine. Meanwhile, I'm like, and I remember I used to finally put the kids to bed and I'd be like, oh, and then I would just bawl my eyes out because I was reflecting on the day and I was like, I was so short tempered. I was angry. I was miserable. And I was like, I didn't even have time to cuddle my toddler. I didn't have time to cuddle my baby because I was just surviving, guys. I was simply just surviving. And that's the truth. So as time went on, COVID hit and I lost myself again. I don't even think I ever found myself. I think I just was dealing with it and coming to terms with like, this is my life. And when I should have just been so blessed and just like smothering my children with love 24/7, but that was not the reality. Not that I was mean to my kids. I just mean like, I feel like I didn't, take in the moments that I look back now and I'm like, those are gone. Like I'll never get those days back. And so COVID hit, and you know what? I enjoyed my wine. Okay? That's all everyone was doing, I feel like. That's all ever anyone could turn to. That was the only outlet. It was winter. What do you do? Me and Cam were not getting along. I would stay up till 2 a.m. and I would, make TikToks, and I would FaceTime my one friend, and I would talk to my sister, and I would, drink a lot of wine. Not that I was an alcoholic, but I did enjoy a good bottle of wine. And then that became a problem. Not that I was labeled as an alcoholic, but I felt like I was, because I felt like I couldn't wait to just get the wine in me once the kids went to bed. And then I had a real reality shock hit moment, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And it took me to have a literal breakdown to realize, like, hey, like, something's wrong with you. And I'll go into what happened. So I'll just kind of give you kind of like a time frame. I don't even know what the word is that I'm looking for, because I'm just like feeling all the emotions again. So Cam and I were literally hitting rock bottom. I told myself that when he got home from work that I would be gone. I packed bags, I packed the kids, and I said we're going to, um, see Nana and Papa for a little bit. Kaden was so young, he didn't understand. And so that's what I did. I had my bags packed. Cam got home, and he actually got home early, and he was like, what's happening? And I was like, I'm leaving you. I was like, I'm done. And he was like, what did I do? And I actually couldn't even tell him what he did. I remember just being so mean, and I was like, I hate you. Um, I will let you know what's happening with the kids. I'm going to go live with my parents. I can't do this anymore. I hate this house. I hate the memories in this house. I hate the memories with you. And I was just like, any mean thing I could have said, I said. Mind you guys, Cam wasn't perfect. He also didn't really understand postpartum, so I can't blame him for not being perfect. He also had his own things that he was dealing with. I mean, he'll talk about he suffered with his accident, and he suffered with a lot of mental health. So he was like, okay, like, he didn't know what to say. We kind of fought before we left, and I left, and I did leave for a couple nights, and then I kind of just had this reality hit, and I was like, my mom was like, what is it? Like, what's going on? And I don't really remember exactly what happened, but I ended up coming back home and changed my ways a little bit, and I apologized, and we kind of just carried on with life. And then one night, I was putting Caden and Everly to bed, so Cam didn't really do bedtime routine ever. And again, Cam has changed so much over the years, it's actually unbelievable. But he would even, when we get on the podcast together talking about postpartum together as a couple, he'll even say, like, I wish I was there. I wish I understood. I wish I was educated, which is why I find postpartum such a big topic. And I just really want to turn my page into a big postpartum announcement. And I'm such an advocate for it. I just want to scream it to the entire world. So I really think postpartum is just it's my lane. It's my journey. This is why I'm here, because I went through it so terribly. So, it was a busy night. Kaden and Everly were going back and forth from going to sleep, waking up. Everly's soother would fall out of her mouth, and the second it would fall out, she would scream so loud. So I'd put it in her mouth, and then it would wake up Kaden, so I'd go cuddle him, and it was like back and forth all night. And finally, they both get to sleep, and I'm like, oh. So I remember I shut the bedroom door, and I was just like, oh, I can breathe for a moment. I remember I had some tears, and I was just like, holy crap. Like, I get to do this all over again tomorrow. And I was like, I need to go do something for myself. And so I grabbed blue nail polish, and I was like, I'm going to paint my toes. And I walked out, and the kitchen was a disaster. There was formula powder all over the floor, pasta sauce from dinner. High chair was covered from Kaden eating in it. It was just a disaster. And then I walk out, and Cam's just chilling on the phone on the couch. And I was like, okay, I guess this is all left for me. Keep in mind, I was just dealing with a disaster in the bedroom, and he didn't come in once, but he was on the phone talking to his parents. Again, not trying to bash Cam, but this is just actually what we lived. And so I came out, and he said like a smart ass comment while on the phone with his parents. I remember it was so triggering to me. I can't remember exactly what the comment was, but it was directed towards me, triggering and smart ass. And I was like, I've had enough. And I slammed the nail polish on the floor, and blue literally splattered all over the house, all over the ceramic tiles, all over the cupboards, all over the dishwasher, all over the backsplash, all over the microwave. It was everywhere. And I remember in that moment in time, I just looked at Cam and I was just like, I swore, and I was like, I am so fucking done. And I said, I hate my life. And it sounds so dramatic, but um, like to this day, I feel what I felt inside of me, and I really, really, really was done. And so I walked out of the house and I just went for a drive, and I parked down the road, and I just cried, and I was like, I can't even believe what I just did. I just destroyed my house. And I really was at my breaking point. I was like, I tried leaving. I don't actually want to leave him. And I don't actually know what I need or what I want. And so I was so at a loss, and I couldn't turn to anybody. I had no friends. I didn't want to tell my mom and dad what I was going through, because I couldn't even really tell them what I was going through. My sisters, again, were too young. And I just remember sitting there being like, if I had someone to talk to, I'd feel so much better. And then that's when a light bulb went off in my head. And I was like, I could have people to talk to. Social media is at the tip of my fingers. And you know what? I wonder if any other mom is experiencing literally like the little slight bit of what I'm going through. And I opened up 50 Shades of Mom Life on my Instagram, and I started being real and raw. um, I started searching at moms and mom names, just mom anything, following them, interacting with them, and posting daily on my story. And yeah, I started to build a community, and that's where it all started. And to this day, I'm so thankful that I did experience something so crazy and um, scary in my life, because I wouldn't be where I am today. My end goal for my social media journey is to be there for moms who feel like they're alone and in a dark corner. And when I was in that car, I just was like, where do I go from here? Because I ain't going back that way. And I did go back home, and I'm glad I did. And it's in those moments in time where it's not dramatic of you to feel that way. And I can't say I've ever felt that way again in my life, but that was rock bottom. And sometimes you need to hit rock bottom to realize, there is going to be something brighter on the other side. You just have to get over this rock bottom that you've hit. When I found out after I had Everly, we agreed that no more kids, because, I remember the one day I woke up, and it's like, it reminds me of the sound. It's Coronation Day. It's Coronation Day, because it's like, holy shit, I feel me. Like, I feel like me again. I'm not breastfeeding. I just pack a few things in the diaper bag, 1 bottle a day. We have the nap schedule figured out. I feel me. I'm fitting into my clothes again. And it's like, that's truly how you feel once your hormones settle down, you're all done breastfeeding, and, your kids are growing. And it's sad, because I feel like from newborn to, 1 years old, you're kind of just in this dream, this foggy dream that you just try to remember, but you can't, because literally it's just the time that you're just surviving. And the more kids you have, I find the harder it gets. So we were done at 2, and along came number 3. And I remember the day I found out, and I was like, holy freaking shit. And mind you, rest in peace, I did have a miscarriage in between Caden and Everly. But I wasn't that far along, but it was a lot. But that's a whole other topic. So technically it was my 4th pregnancy, but my 3rd that went on, and I was done at 2. I was done after Everly, and I got pregnant again. And I remember the like, it was like this, like, ooh, it was like I got shot in my stomach. I was like, what? Like, what? No, 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 no. And don't come at me for this because I know people are saying like, you can't talk like that. Like it's a blessing, and 110,000% I don't disagree with that. But after you just experience something so scary like postpartum depression, anxiety, um, psychosis, all the things, not me personally, but I'm saying if you have experienced all those, it's a scary thing. And I know some women experience where they don't not necessarily love their baby, but it's almost like you feel not deserving of them. And thankfully, I never experienced that. I, if anything, I felt like I wasn't enough for them. So I felt like they deserved better, and I wasn't a good enough mom. And yeah, I experienced a lot throughout postpartum. I am who I am today because of postpartum. And like Kim says, sometimes I'm like, why did we have kids when we were younger? Like, it's like I feel like it's just like gone now, and I just didn't even experience or have the support that I needed when I needed it. Where if I were to have kids with Cam now, he so understands postpartum. He so is there emotionally, mentally, physically. He's figured out his job. Like, so, but I can't think like that, and we can't think like that because, we wouldn't be where we are, strength wise, love wise, and we have built a foundation. So we definitely contemplated on the fourth, but Cam did get snipped. But we did contemplate on the fourth there for a little bit because he's like, I would so enjoy the pregnancy. I'd be there for you like I should have been. And he's like, I owe this to you. And I was like, you know what? I owe you. I mean, you owe me getting snipped because that's about it. Um, yeah. Basically, I am thankful for this postpartum journey that I went through because had I not gone through it, I would have never started my social media page. And I feel like I am where I am today because of postpartum. And if only I had a video like this, or I had an outlet like this when I was going through what I went through, it would have helped me so much. And I believe that if you've ever hit rock bottom, or if you haven't hit rock bottom, which I hope none of you have gone through what I experienced, but I know there will be many of you that have, unfortunately. Sometimes we have to hit rock bottom to just see the brighter side, and I fully believe that. Um, I just wish in this moment in time, I could just scream to everybody being like, I'm here to help. My inbox is always open on 50 Shades of Mom Life on my Instagram, 50 Shades of Mom Life on my TikTok. And if you care to share your story in the comments below, please do so. If you want to keep it more personal, please send me a message. But just know that you are never alone. And I know when people say you're never alone, it's kind of hard to believe, because in that moment when I was sitting in my vehicle, I remember being like, I'm so alone. Like, I was so alone. I didn't have anybody. Like, literally, when I did have a whole community behind me, like my parents would have helped me in a second. Um, and I know my sisters would have helped me in a second. But, and I don't put Cam's name in there because, not that he was a bad person, but he really, truly, men just don't get it. They don't get it. And I don't think they ever will get it, except for when they start to see, now people talk about it and all their experiences. Now Cam sees for himself, like, holy shit, this is a thing. This is totally what you were going through. He only wishes that he had the knowledge now that he has now back then. And I truly believe that he would have been such a good support back then had he known. You'll see like moms walking and he'll be like, oh my gosh, she is so going through postpartum. Not that you judge a book by its cover, but you can just see like she in the parking lot, she looks so stressed. She had a newborn. The toddler was having a tantrum. And I'm just like, I just want to, when I see you moms out there that are, dealing with things like that, I'm like, I just want to hug you. And actually, I did have a situation. We were at a play place and the mom had a newborn and she was still wobbling as if she just gave birth. And the toddler was like scream crying. And the toddler didn't want to leave the play place. And she was like, Mommy has to. And she was crying. She's like, I have to. I need to go home. She was like, I'm bleeding. Mommy's bleeding. She needs a new diaper. And you could tell she was just like a mess. And we had this balloon in our car. And I was like, guys, I'm like, I think the right thing we do right now is we give this little boy the balloon so that the mommy can go home. And my kids were kind of like, no. And then I was like, guys, I'm like, look at this. Like, imagine you were sad. And you know what? My kids actually took to it. And I went over and I was like, does he want this balloon? And the kid like lit up and she just like cried more. And she was like, thank you so much. And I was like, do you need a hug? She's like, I do, but I'm so gross. And I was like, I don't even care. And I hugged her. And I just went home and I just felt so happy because I was like, I really hope I touched that mom's heart. And I just know that if back then, if someone ever did that to me, I probably would have fell into their arms and squeezed them and been like, never let go. I need you. But you're so vulnerable at that point. I mean, when you experience things like postpartum, because it's just, this is me. Like, I remember showing up and I never took care of myself. My showers, I would, that's another thing, is like your self-care just goes down the drain. I'm like, when's the last time I showered? Like, ew, like I need a shower. Like, no, but I'm putting the baby first and then I got to make dinner. And then by the time I make dinner, it's bath time for them. But where's my bath time? Where's my shower time? So that's another thing, is like your hygiene goes down the hole and people just stare at you and they're like, wow, look at that mom. She looks disgusting. And if anyone ever says that, I've never thought that, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like when I used to go out, people would be like, "Ooh, what happened to her?" And I'd like have like milk spilt all over me. And I was just like, you know what? At the end of the day, I'm out of the house. Okay. That's a win for me. Basically, I'm going to come on here with Cam so that we can get the dad's side of postpartum, because he does have a lot to say in postpartum. And he is like a true believer in postpartum, and he himself is a huge advocate for it and really wishes that he knew more about it. And I'm sure your husbands wish the same. And Cam really wants to get on this podcast to talk about postpartum, to help the dads kind of better understand, and the husbands, um, and let them know that they're not alone, and things that he wishes that he knew beforehand. And when we do that, you should totally get your husbands to listen to this, because it might help. I have a feeling it might help dad to dad. I haven't decided if he's going to just sit here solely or if he's going to, talk about it with me. If I let him sit here solely, the podcast might be like 3 hours and 45 minutes. So maybe I'll sit with him, because Cam can, which is a good thing. Just kidding, Cam. When you watch this, I'm kidding. Um, Basically, what I want to say to you guys is that, if you are going through postpartum, you're not alone and it will get better. This too shall pass. I know that's so annoying when people say that, like I said earlier in the podcast, but it does pass. One day you're going to wake up and you're going to say that it's coronation day, and you're going to be like, holy shit, I feel myself again. I'm going to do my makeup. I fit into my pair of jeans, and it's going to feel good. And I don't know if we ever fully find ourselves until the kids are a little bit older. I mean, I still have a 3-year-old and I feel like I still haven't fully found myself. I feel like for me, what gets to me most is the fact that I'm not making an income. So I'm constantly trying to fulfill that, because I sometimes feel useless, but that is a whole other topic in itself. I'm gonna be so for real with you guys. I just like podcasted forever and ever and ever, and my camera wasn't recording, okay? Anyways, I don't know what I've repeated. I don't know when it stopped recording, but I really hope this postpartum podcast finds you when you need it the most. And for those of you that haven't had children, this is a little, opener as to what postpartum can feel like. And I just hope that everybody comes out of their postpartum journey the way I did, and looks back at it as if it was something that they can live off of and speak about and spread the word and just be there for one another. That's the biggest thing we can do. So I want you to know you're not alone. We love you, and this too shall pass. I love you guys, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.